into today's tea. Actually, I'm sorry, before we dive into today's tea, a very warm welcome to those of you that recently joined us. I've noticed that we might have, reached a different demographic and we have a lot of, new subscribers. And, some of you may not be familiar with this channel. So I did see some of you complaining that, your commentary is very beautiful. However, the editing, it's not very dynamic. I don't know, maybe I'm not putting the, effects enough and stuff like that. And the reason is you guys, I also do have a job aside from this. I do have a 9 to 5 and I'm not able to really spend so much time editing. This is something that I do during my lunch breaks. So I value more the commentary. That's why I was suggesting that maybe we should do a podcast instead of the YouTube videos, because really I cannot balance the two. But that being said, I do hope you understand, if visuals are the big part of what you want, I'm afraid maybe this is not the best channel for you. I still love you, but I'm pretty sure there are some other people who are covering this tea in such a manner that would help you to to be engaged more. My sincerest apologies for that. But that being said, let's get into today's tea. So, first of all, let's talk about Joe Biden and Shannon Sharp. So, since yesterday, they've kind of been teasing their interview together. And I've seen on Shannon's channel, they put in their headline, in the title, of the video, it was Nicki Minaj, Joe Biden, sit down with Joe Biden, and then they had to insert Nicki Minaj in that entire, title. And I was like, Shannon, for somebody who clearly doesn't like Nicki Minaj, I am not sure why he continuously asks his guests about Nicki. And before all of you come at me and start saying, oh my God, she's trending recently. No, 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 no. Shannon has always done this. And I'm just surprised that for someone who's cancelled, why do these people still bother about her? But at this point, I think I've kind of figured out that some of them really don't even be meaning what they will be saying about this woman. Some of them are really just looking for clicks. They do know that her name brings traction and it's intentional, because you cannot tell me that a grown man who claims to not like somebody will continuously ask guests, different guests, even Kevin Gates, asking them about Nicki Minaj, even people that she's never had interactions with, to a point where it's embarrassing. But I think at this point, they are just chasing the algorithm. This is a clear indication of that. That being said, Shannon also took time to explain to us how, he wasn't shading Nicki Minaj. Oh my God, I was talking about this other Nicki, and people said, Nicki, you should have Nicki on. And I said, Nicki, I don't know how many times he has told this story, and I don't know what exactly it is supposed to do. So I really just, at this point, she runs the internet. That's all I can say to you. She really, truly runs the internet. And moving on to the other thing they started talking about, they spoke about obviously, here recently linking up with the president and everything. And from what I saw with Shannon, he was kind of echoing sentiments that he no longer wanted to take a public political stance, especially when it comes to criticizing Nicki Minaj. Why I do feel like that is that he probably is friends with a lot of other people who do support this man, because he was like, well, I lost a lot of friends when everything started, but I've kind of, gotten to an acceptance that I shouldn't let this affect my friendships. It took a lot of growth. And I was surprised, to be honest, to see Shannon Sharp speaking like this. I really wasn't expecting that. And then we move on to Joe Biden. Joe Biden was like, oh, I was disappointed. I was hurt. And his face, I looked at him, I said, Joe, at this point, you must be taking, acting lessons, because why is your face swollen and you're acting depressed over this woman? Like, that's her right to choose the political party that she wants. She didn't commit a crime. People that are actually being accused of committing crimes, you guys are not covering. But it's Nicki Minaj who's now depressing you because of her political party that she chose. Do you see how ridiculous that is? And the fact that, he's trying to talk about, wow, this is what happened, so this is why I'm sad. I didn't see you swollen when I didn't see your face swollen when you were discussing about Nikki swatting. If anything, it was all jokes on your podcast. When she was crying for help over the swatting, I didn't see you, come through on your podcast this concerned. You guys were not concerned. When she was crying out for help, telling you guys what's happening behind the scenes, we didn't see this swollenness and concerned. So why should she be concerned that your face is swollen and you're depressed over her personal choice when it comes to politics? It doesn't make any sense. But I noticed also that the energy that he came with on the Shannon Sharp podcast is a little bit different. That, that whole energy that he had in his little podcast when he was like, I'm giving her my vaccine, this and that. He had so much to say in that episode. But now I'm kind of picking the energy that people are shaking in some way in the booth. People are, yeah, it's not the same energy. In as much as he was addressing it, he wasn't addressing it with the same energy and animosity that he had when he was addressing it with his peers on his podcast. And I do feel like the files that came out might have shaken them. And now they no longer have the confidence that they had when they were bashing it. Because they do know that if their master gets captured, it's over for them. And I'm really happy that now they cannot run around saying that she's delusional, she's schizo, mental health, blah, 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 because everything that she's been echoing about their favorite brother billionaire, people are beginning to say, you know what? Actually, that lady was probably not lying. Something about that energy is different. Even Shannon Sharp going ahead and, explaining that he doesn't have a problem with Nicki Minaj. To me, something is cooking, and I'm here to see how everything is going to play out. But let me know in the comment section, you guys, what you think about this. Did you watch that episode? And tell me if Shannon and Joe Budden have the energy that they previously, had about Nicki Minaj. It's not the same energy, and I'm loving it. Even Ibro hasn't gone on his rant about Nicki Minaj for a very long time since the files came out. It's interesting to see. But anyway, let's move on to the next thing that we're going to be talking about. Still talking about Onika because it's the internet. If not her, who are we gonna talk about, eh? She runs this internet, and I think people are beginning to realize it. Oh my God! So it is actually being reported that through these past couple of days, she has gained more than 300,000 followers on X. So much for someone who is allegedly washed up, irrelevant, and all of these things they want to put on her. At this point, you cannot deny the impact. You cannot deny the relevance. You cannot deny how powerful and influential she is, because around all this chaos, one would think she's losing followers. But no, she's actually gaining more followers. And this right here is the reason why so many people are mad. They don't know what to do next. Nothing is suiting their narratives anymore. No new insult is sticking. Somebody was asking in the comment section, they were like, you guys that have been here for a long time, what do you think? Do you think that 2018 was a worse era than this? Do you think the H train that they launched back then was way worse than this one? And I said, no, this is light work. This is light work because any bub can pick up a microphone like I'm doing right now and start defending her. We didn't have this knowledge back then. Outside of the comment sections and Twitter, we really thought that, that's all we had. We didn't know that we could also pick up microphones and speak the truth. And during that time, I feel like a lot of blogs got compromised. There's especially one blog that I used to watch a lot, and it hurt my feelings, man. It hurt my feelings when I saw that lady doing a 360, befriending the plant and all. I was so hurt. I was like so hurt. I was like, wow, And I slowly, of course, disengaged and I stopped watching her. But it was really sad and pathetic to watch that happen in real time. But in 2026, it's not the same. In 2026, there are so many platforms where people are speaking the truth. Go to TikTok there. You will see that a lot of people are speaking up for Nicki Minaj and people are not afraid. And another reason why I feel like this era is not the same as 2018 is because in 2018, a lot of the information that they were putting out, on Nicki Minaj, a lot of the false narratives and stuff like that, they had shock value during that time. You get it? They would talk about her husband, and people would be like, and then Jennifer would come. Loni would be out there on the reel. They would be wiping her tears. Oh my God! And truth would be getting twisted, and people were eating it up. After that, Remy Ma would come and say she stopped my bag. She's jealous of other female rappers, and people were eating all of that up. And because of her cockiness, when she's talking and in her music, they would say she's such a mean girl. She doesn't get along with others, and people would eat that ish up. But they overdid it. They didn't leave anything to use in the future. So that's why you see that, in my own opinion, I feel like 2026 is way better than 2018 because they are now recycled narratives that can no longer stick. Because how many times are you going to bring up her husband and lie that she's a PDF when she was 15 when whatever happened happened? How many times are you going to pretend to act like you don't know what a PDF actually is by definition? How many times are you going to come on here and do that? How many times are you going to lie on her and say that she's stopping bags when she herself is getting blackballed? How many times are you going to come and say that she's a sellout because she made some pop music? You can only say that once and people will gag. After that, it would be just the same regurgitated rhetoric and it won't have any shock value anymore. And that's why I personally feel like 2026 is way better. If I had known in 2018 that my voice could also be heard like this, and we would have debunked a lot of the things that these people were saying. But again, we learn, we grow, we evolve. And I'm really, truly happy that a lot of people that support her are creating platforms in support of her. That's why I'm just like, because some of you come to me and you're like, you shouted out this person, they don't like you. And sometimes they're Bub creators, sometimes they're Nicki Minaj supporters. And I don't really pay attention to that because at the end of the day, as long as you're speaking up for what's just and what's fair when it comes to her, Even if you don't like me, that's fine. That's why you don't see me engaging in the, in those squabbles. It's a choice. It's a conscious choice, because I came on YouTube to do what I thought, like, okay, if there's 1,000 publications captured and speaking against one woman, even if 20 people hear the truth, I will say the truth. That's why I came on this platform. And I honestly am very happy that a lot more people are doing that. And so that's why I don't engage. I see what you guys be telling me when I shout out some of these creators, that you're like, they don't even like you, they were shading you. I know, but that's not why I came here. I didn't come here to shade anyone who's creating um, awareness when it comes to the injustice that happens in the music industry. But that being said, let me know in the comment section, do you think that 2018 was worse than 2026, or do you think that 2026 is a worse time than 2018? Another reason, by the way, why I feel like 2026 is better is because after 2018, she managed to prove that she was uncancelable. You get it? When she did Pink Friday 2, that was, like I always say, that was a sign of survival. She survived the storm. And one thing about it, once someone has survived the worst, ain't nothing else you can do to her. Okay? Anyway, let's move on to the next thing that we're going to be talking about. Let us talk about Amon Wiggins. It seems like initially he had other thoughts when it comes to Nicki Minaj supporting Trump, but lately I guess he's been getting a different vibe from all of it after watching the Katie Miller, podcast, and he's kind of been echoing that, what, I actually respect her for standing 10 toes down on what she believes in, and people are kind of calling him a flip flopper, which everyone does. I mean, let me know in the comment section what you think about that. Do you think it's an issue of him initially not understanding what Nikki was saying, or is it just an issue of dogpiling and riding the wave and saying what you think people want to hear, and then actually realizing and sitting down and actually paying attention to what someone is saying? Because it can be really tempting, to go with what everyone is saying just to be, like the cool kid to fit in. But when you then sit down with yourself, you then begin to realize that actually I might have been lost. Let me know what you think about that one. Now, moving on to the next thing that we're going to be talking about, Suki is coming through with a message, and she's kind of cloaking the industry. And in response to that, people are trying to shame her, to say that, well, you were doing ridiculous things online, so you do not have the authority to speak up. And I've kind of been seeing them also trying to use that against Nicki Minaj, saying you were in the same club, you were hanging with those people too, to kind of negate what she's saying. So she said, you have to question the blogs that post everybody's business, including these journalists and also the entertainers with huge influence who will not speak up on R word, the C word, and S children who wear the T word, and the M word. I'm sorry, you guys, but it's a little bit graphic, and you know what this platform is like. So I have to be careful when saying such things. But basically, in summary, she was saying that she's questioning everybody who's not talking about the files, but is quick to discuss everything else and to fake speak up, fake, the activism is all performative and fake when it comes to certain subjects that are not as important as the file. And honestly speaking, I do understand where Suki is coming from. I wish more celebrities would be honest. But the truth is, a lot of your favorite celebrities cannot be honest because they are owned. Their opinions are owned. Their beliefs are owned. What they stand for is owned. Everything about them is owned. So at the end of the day, they will represent what their handlers want them to represent. Anything that goes against their handlers' morals and ethics, they cannot speak on that. They cannot support that. So at the end of the day, that's how dirty the industry is. And when you take a look closely without any bias, you will really see the connections. I mean, who knew that what people were saying is happening behind the scenes in the entertainment industry, and people called conspiracy theories would turn out to be true in 2026, and they would actually be evidence, pictorial evidence, video evidence, emails that do substantiate everything that these so-called conspiracy theorists have been saying. So honestly, I do believe that she would know better, because she's, in my own opinion, has probably been exposed to the other sides of the industry. And for people to try to discredit what she's saying when she's the one who's been in these so-called circles is interesting to me. And people don't want to be called out for the hypocrisy, obviously, so they would rather hyper focus on Nicki Minaj than on things that are actually ridiculous. They would rather question Nicki Minaj's political choices than actual probable criminals. Anyway, let's move on to the last thing that we're gonna be talking about. Let us talk about Lil Kim. There's a very disturbing video that I saw of Lil Kim, and honestly, it makes me really, really sad because she had a very beautiful face before the surgery. I saw her face and I said, Kimberly, what did you do to yourself? I've been meaning to talk about it, but a lot has happened. Some more pressing issues had to be talked about, so I kind of pushed it to the side. I will insert screenshot from that video. It's not nice, eh? And I wish more people would really come out and advise others, especially if you have walked in the path of surgery. I feel like those who have experienced the dark side of it should be able to also advise others not to do it, because it's sad. Seeing how pretty she looked and how she now looks and how everything is falling apart is sad. Um, it's sad, man. Anyway, let's thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for making it this far. If you have not already, what are you waiting for? Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. Before I go, somebody requested that I talk about this. Just to raise an awareness, okay? They say that there is an influx of BAB accounts that are getting targeted by people who are trying to access them. I'm talking about the hacking situation. It seems like they are now attempting to come for the BAB accounts. And I will also tell you from my end that in these past couple of days, I've kind of been seeing, a number of attempts coming in different forms, in different ways. On my Instagram, they've been coming everywhere. In my emails, really, the old and hacking tricks, I've kind of been seeing them, and it's pathetic. And I've kind of noticed that whenever I cover certain people, that's when these things come through. I remember during the Didla situation, when there were also allegations that, well, another person is also, like, the Tony Busby era. I was really also seeing a lot of interesting emails that I was like, how daft do you think I am? You really think I'm going to click on that link, don't you? So just be careful out there, and safeguard your accounts. Do not be clicking on links that you do not know. Do not be entertaining really conversation, because it starts from that. When you see that this looks suspicious, but and that might also be the reason why, if you are really part of this channel and maybe you reached out to me and I've not responded to you, is because of this. Now it's hard to distinguish between who is being genuine and who's out there, trying to silence others. But that being said, yeah, thank you for watching, and do subscribe. Let me know